Graphic novels like this are the exact reason why I do a YouTube channel. Watch this video to the end. So the book that is the topic for today is Mothballs by Otero. Special thanks to Tucker Stone and Fantagraphics for sending me out this review copy. But in the intro there, the reason why I said that it's graphic novels like this that are the reason why I have a YouTube channel is because the reason why I started a YouTube channel was to try to spotlight graphic novels and comics that I didn't feel like were getting enough attention, at least in the YouTube comic book, circuit. So I always say that the mission statement for my YouTube channel is to maybe bring people in for the typical Marvel DC omnibus overviews, but I hope people stay for books like this. So Mothballs is a coming-of-age graphic novel that is about an entire family history and a family tree and how the events of the past can affect the children of the future. And the main character here is Rocio, and she is taking over the estate or the house of her grandmother, Vilma, who just recently passed away. And that living in the house itself is bringing back a lot of memories, but also uncovering a lot of truths of the past and how Rocio and how she perceived her grandmother to be, who was a little bit of a curmudgeonly, maybe judgy, kind of vindictive lady, kind of answering the questions of why she turned out to be that way. And maybe Rocio and Vilma have a lot more similarities than Rocio might have anticipated to begin with. But it's told in this incredible art style with a great use of color, and I want to show that off to you. So I'm going to flip the camera around and put this book under the microscope. Okay, so I really got to show off this book because it's really, really beautiful. And the art really blew me away. So this is the cover here. I don't know if you can make this out on the video, but you can kind of see it. It's got a nice textured feel to the cover with some spot gloss there on the title lettering and some spot gloss on the images there of Rocio. And you have a great spine here. And then here's the back cover. And it is a little bit of a wraparound cover, as you can tell when I fold it out here. And it's showing like Rocio walking through the house of her grandmother and kind of meeting her on the other side of things. Eleanor Davis provides a blurb, which is apropos because I feel like Eleanor Davis, I don't know if Eleanor Davis is a direct influence for Otero, but I can definitely see some. If you're a fan of Eleanor Davis comics, you're definitely going to love this, I guess I should say. And this is paperback, but it's kind of like the hardstock flexi covers, if you're familiar with that. It has some great French flaps here and great in papers. French flaps on both sides. This book was beautifully designed by Kayla E., I should say. And it was translated by Andrea Rosenberg, because this was originally released in Spain, published in Spain. And Otero, I've since found out that she's had a lot of comics and graphic novels released in Spanish originally. And so I'm really hoping, based on my love for how much I enjoyed this graphic novel, that I hope that more of her work is translated by Fantagraphics. So we have a nice title page here. You see it translated by Andrea Rosenberg. There's a dedication there. And then it opens up with the funeral of Vilma. And one thing that really blew me away by this graphic novel is the great use of color. Like, color has almost become its own character throughout this. And the great use of color to set mood or set timelines and that kind of thing. I think color is an underrated aspect of comics sometimes. I think some people just color comics without thinking of it in with any sort of thoughtfulness of how it can affect the story. Because if you think of like great filmmakers will use like different film scores and things to set mood and tempo and stories, like color is can be that for comics. Here's some of the great visual aspects that Otero provides here that I really, really loved for storytelling purposes. But this is Rocio telling her friend about some stuff about her past childhood and how they're in her grandmother's house again, but kind of reminiscing of her when she was a kid. So you have her in these circular panels as a child, but she's telling the story as an adult now. Here's her friend. And you see how much bigger she feels in this house than when she was a kid. And I think we've all kind of felt that, a little bit of a nostalgia anytime we go to maybe our old school, in elementary school, if we ever revisit our elementary school and we walk in for the first time and we're like, wow, the ceilings are so low. Like, I feel so much bigger in here than it. Before it seemed like this massive, huge building, and now I feel so much smaller. Just such a great way to tell that story and convey that message here with this page. And you can see the wallpaper back here is reminiscent, or is what the end papers are, which is great because throughout the story you'll find out that based on the different rooms of this house, they have different wallpapers, which kind of give the rooms their own character too, and really gives you a feel for the layout of the house, which things like this too, which there are a lot of these top views of the house, which give you these kind of the characters of the house. And you can see the different wallpapers, different ways that these are colored. And Otero does a great job of being consistent with that. So each time you go into a new room, you know which room that is. She also has this really interesting way of lettering where she ties the balloons right into the character's mouth. It's not something I've seen another cartoonist do before, and I actually kind of like it because it adds a little bit of character to the way they're speaking. Where you can almost see like she's carrying this box, so she's like, when you're carrying a box and you can't speak 100% clearly and you're kind of like, you know, losing your breath a little bit, so it's got that kind of a jagged line there from the word balloon. Just little things like that really help tell the story and just pull you in, and it's like new comics language. That's something that I always talk about too with like a Chris Ware or Daniel Klaus or somebody that's really a master cartoonist, that they almost create their own cartoon language that when you read their stuff, it's almost as if you're reading a foreign language, if that makes any sense, but it's making sense to you because they do such a great job of conveying that it all reads really, really well. And again, great use of color. So this is in the dark. So all the imagery and stuff is using white lines now on top of that. And I don't know if Otero, if she works digitally. I don't know if this was all done digitally or if it's done practically. I would be curious to know that because I don't know. I'm going to assume digital, but maybe practical. I don't know. If Otero happens to be watching this, let me know in the comments or if you could, because I'm really curious what your process is for making this. But even this, like this great image of her, just two friends sitting at the kitchen table, maybe having a cup of coffee or breakfast, and like the panels up here of what they're probably eating at the time. Just like a good establishing shot for what's going on in this scene is really cool. So this is all, you can see this, the color tempo of this mood is all pretty consistent throughout here. But then when we get into these flashbacks, what's going on within the family tree that I was talking about, you get this full bleed with this pink background. And that's showing you the passage of time, the changing of time, that you're going back into the past, which is another great way to tell these stories. But in addition to that, the color palettes used for the characters changes as well. You can see like these characters have a skin tone color to them, and these characters are all white. It's almost as if you're watching a black and white film or something, to where you can tell it's in the past. And just great drawing. Like, Otero is just a great cartoonist and great artist. I love the figures that she draws and how they're all consistently from the same world. Like, she has a very distinct figure drawing. I could tell that anytime now that I pick up a Otero book, it's going to be very easily picked out, that I don't even need to see the name on the book. I can tell it's hers. Here's a great mood setting of a claustrophobic room on the ship, because this family just went onto the ship. So having the panel shrunk down into the middle of the page with this black around it really shrinks in and makes you feel claustrophobic in there. Again, setting that mood. Just really, really brilliant stuff here with this storytelling. And here we're bleeding back into the present day. So this is Rocio talking to her grandmother who owns this house, and then her kind of reminiscing about that. With the phone ringing, the phone almost becomes its own character at times. And then here's Rocio just on the phone, just having this conversation. I love that it goes into this S motion too, because there's no panel here. Like there's this full open 2-page spread, and she's so animated and always moving. Like there's always something interesting going on, always conveying a different emotion throughout the conversation. Such great cartooning. Really, really, really good stuff. Here's a cat that comes into the picture, into the house, that becomes a character unto itself, and she doesn't quite like the cat, but then maybe she grows to love the cat. But then also hates the cat again. It's a funny kind of relationship that Cat and Rocio have. So now we're back into the past here. In the family tree, the brilliant thing about this with the storytelling of the family tree is that it goes back a couple generations, and sometimes at the beginning of the story, you're kind of thinking like, okay, I kind of see who these characters are, I kind of see what's going on. But by the end of the story, it wraps it up in a nice bow to where everything kind of makes sense. So stick with it. Like while you're going these flashbacks, you might be a little bit lost as far as like the importance of what the story she's telling you is. It almost seems like it's kept getting off track of what the main purpose of the story is, because Rocio is the main character, but maybe some of these other characters become super important. You want to pay attention to that, because it it does get wrapped up in a nice bow towards, or by the end of the story, where everything makes sense and everything clicks. I love this panel layouts too. Just having these panels within this big double page splash of showing Rocio just living her life, going through this house and wanting to be here, but also not wanting to be here at the same time. I also got to shout out, she's wearing a Garfield shirt. Jim Davis, fellow Hoosier. Got to shout out Garfield in that aspect. Fellow Hoosier to me, by the way, not Otero. And as the flashbacks are going, you're seeing, you're seeing before the grandmother Vilma, and then also grandmother Vilma growing up, and then Vilma also being with Rocio in her younger age. But throughout here, you're seeing Vilma go through some horrific events and violence throughout her life that you can see paints the picture of why she is the way she is, and why Rocio always felt kind of standoffish to her, or felt she was, I don't know, short-tempered maybe, or off-putting, and how why Rocio made excuses to why she didn't come visit often enough, and that kind of thing. And Vilma would always guilt trip her into that, saying like, you never come visit me, you never come visit me. And then also some of the guilt that Rocio feels after Vilma's gone and passed. And as she's since reflecting on all this history, and then realizing maybe she should have changed, maybe some regrets that she has in the situation. So one of the things that Rocio does too is she's a photographer, takes pictures a lot. So I love this. This is her in her dark room, printing the film, or I'm trying to think of the word thing. I'm drawing a blank, but producing the film, where you're taking the actual film and then making it into photographs. Apologies for me not knowing the science behind that, but you catch my drift. Again, just the interesting panel layouts, like creating its own comic language. I can't express that enough, how that kind of blew me away. And it makes me a fan of Otero. It makes me want to read more of her comics, and I hope that they do get translated, like I said. But a great graphic novel. I can't recommend it enough, especially if you're into kind of slice of life comic books, or comics about family drama, or just comics with great cartooning and great use of color. Again, the use of color here really blew me away. It kind of was reminiscent to me of Astero's Polyps by David Mazzucchelli, and the use of color in that graphic novel. I feel like Otero similarly uses color as a character within the story to convey things, and it's one of my favorite things coming out of this graphic novel. And there's, again, she's feeling gigantic in this house of her youth. But yeah, I can't recommend this enough. Mothballs by Otero. Let me know in the comments down below if you're going to pick this up, or if you have picked this up, or anything you have to say about this. I reply to all comments, and subscribe if you haven't already. I'm on the road to 3,000 subscribers on YouTube, and you can help me getting there. Other ways you can help is by giving this video a thumbs up and commenting. Those kind of engagement help YouTube feel like people are interested in video content like this. So it'll put it in front of eyeballs of people that don't know my channel exists just yet. But thank you so much to Fantagraphics and Tucker Stone. Thank you to Otero for making a great graphic novel. And everybody just keep reading comics.